All right, so I want to run you through what this looks like, the kind of money that you can stand to make, how this is all structured strategically to capture as many people as possible, monetize as many people as possible, and provide as much value as possible to them as well. So they're all happy. They get benefits. I'm not trying to, a lot of people will have a webinar, for example, and they just want everybody to buy the webinar, right? So it's either they're in or they're out. Simple as that, right? Well, I don't want to do that. I want to provide value to everybody. I want them to get value at every step of the way. So here's what I've got set up. This is what you're looking at right now is based purely on if you just have some referrals. If someone comes to you and says, hey, I need a webinar, then you can refer them and I'll pay you, the corresponding number that you see in the blue field there, which I'll be explaining each package to you here in a second. But also at the same time, the cool thing about this is if someone comes to you and says, hey, I'm just kind of getting started, they have the budget sort of thing as well. But they're not ready for the webinar, then I've also got them covered there. So I'll kind of show you what that looks like. And then I'll show you how you can actually start running this at a larger scale, which is cool too. So it's not just a referral thing. It's like this could become an income, a real income for you as well. So let's start off with the new offer. So if someone comes to you and says, hey, I've got a new offer that I haven't really tried out. What do you suggest? You can send them to me, and instead of sending them into a webinar, which I think a lot of people would probably try and sell, that's not the ideal thing for them. So I wouldn't do that. What I would sell them is on this here. So a cold traffic funnel essentially. And what that does is it takes the offer. So we'll take the offer and we flip it upside down and we put it on the front end and we capture the most aware segment of the market and we test the offer to make sure that it actually converts. It's something that people want to buy because that's the biggest problem, right? If you take a brand new offer and you put it at the back end of a webinar, it's super hard to test it because there's all these different things that are getting in the way of it. With a webinar, you have to optimize for show up rates. You have to optimize for registration rates. You have to optimize for stick rates. You have to optimize that the webinar is actually structured to convert once it hits the offer. So there's all these things that get in the way of the offer. We haven't really tested it sufficiently by putting it into a webinar right away. So that's what this does. This tests. Now the problem with this, while it's great and you make some quick sales and everything's fantastic, everybody loves it, is that there's a small segment of the market that's aware enough to buy at this point. So it's limited in its scope. And so that's why a webinar is great, because a webinar can take someone who, I've done this before. And to be clear, this isn't just for internet marketing. I'll write for any niche, provided it's morally ethical. But I've taken people from, who've really never heard of internet marketing and sold them into internet marketing by the end of it, right? So, I mean, you're taking such a think of all the people in the world that don't know about internet marketing. And then within an hour and a half, you've got them buying into an internet marketing system. So that's the power of a webinar, right? That's why people love webinars. That's why they're still around. That's why they're still utilized as much as they are, all for those reasons. So that's the trick. We want to get this offer dialed in and feed it over into one of these packages here. Now, in this case, if we get the new offer, everything's going well, I'm going to give you $500 for that if it turns into a client. And then I'll give you whatever package they sign up for over on this level here, which I'll explain in a second. So we've got that sorted out. Then we come over here, depending on what point they're at, if they are, if they have an existing webinar, if they're, struggling with price resistance at the higher tier offers, they're just not if they're not at the point in their business where they can afford these higher tier offers, not a big deal. I'll just consult with them on their webinar. I'll coach them on their webinar. I'll help them create the ideas, review it, get the content dialed in, all of those aspects of it. So it's pretty much like the ultimate DIY. They're doing all the work themselves. I'm just consulting with them. And in that case, I give you $750. So for the more, this is the more typical market product that'll be sold. So these are the people who maybe they already have a webinar funnel set up. They've already got a webinar. They want to split test it with a new one. They plop, they would get me to write a new one. They plop that one in there. Also the DIYers, you've got people who might even have teams that, they're saying, okay, well, they'll write the emails and they'll write the registration pages and the order pages and all that stuff. You just write the webinar for us. So in this case, I would give them the webinar, which will consist of the slide doc, the design and the script. And they're kind of set with that. That's everything that they need to run with. It's pretty simple. the big thing too is, if someone has a team, like, I've written just the webinar for some really substantial companies. And the reason is because a webinar is such a large thing to take on. So it's one thing if you know how to write emails, if you know how to write sales letters. It's a completely different thing if you know how to write webinars. Webinars are just this whole other beast because they're a balance of content that's educational, but it gets people excited at the same time to buy at the end. So even if they have a team, they're not necessarily willing to, have them write a webinar. Okay. And then on the next level, this is like the grand poop of it all. This is the entire webinar funnel. This is what I call the webinar windfall method, which is a webinar funnel that I've come up with. This is going to be where I go in, I write the webinar, I write the registration pages, the emails, the order pages, everything. I even go in and take content that's created from the webinar recordings and repurpose them for, social media and all these sorts of things. So it's a really extensive system. Very few people will be at this level. This is going to be for the companies that have, they already have existing funnels, VSL funnels, and all these different things. They just need another funnel, they need a webinar, or maybe they need a second webinar that's selling at a different price point or a different product or service that they have. That's what this will be for. And I'll give you $4,000 for that. Okay. Now, these are typically going to be launched to emails. This is what I want to do. I want to launch them to email lists. It's always the easiest way to make sure it's converting, to get people coming in that have already been indoctrinated, who are actually willing to sit with you for an hour and a half. But if they don't have that, then, selling them in the webinar and the cold traffic, not a problem there. Also, as I say, $1,500, $500, you would get both though. That wouldn't just take one sale, wouldn't take the first sale. I'd give you both. And also, cold traffic is a big thing. Everyone wants cold traffic to work, right? So if we launch it to an email list, that's great. It's working well. It would only make sense to then launch it to cold traffic and have both traffic sources hitting it, right? You want to maximize the amount of traffic of converting. So it'll also come back to this. This isn't for new offer. This will be a slightly different tweak on what we're doing with this. But it's still a system that has amazing show up rates considering it's cold traffic, amazing registration rates, all those things. Now, as I said, this is just if you want to send people over to me. You have someone comes to you and you want to refer, whatever it is. If you want to kind of take this at a bigger level, this is going to be at the offer call. So as I was saying, the problem is that you have a limited market that's going to want a webinar, right? You're not going to have a million people that are kicking down your door for a webinar. Most people don't really know what stage they're at, what they need. They need to be on a sales call first before they're told and diagnosed what will solve their problems and told the benefits of the webinar. So this is what's nice about the offer call. So the offer call is going to be a situation where I jump on the phone with them and I help them dial in their entire offer. This is real value, super valuable to actually have your offer dialed in for you. So this will tighten up their existing offers, maybe even create a new offer if applicable. And I'm going to charge $99 for this. Now, if you send me the client, I will give you the full $99 just as a thank you, because then you're covered. This will convert a lot better than anything down here will convert, right? So you're not at a total loss if nothing converts the whole way through. If they convert on the offer call, you get the $99. Really simple. And I'll show you if you want to run paid traffic to this, then that can be your self-liquidating offer where you're profitable as soon as it hits one of these things. So also at the same time, without the traffic, you can send people to the offer call. If you have someone come to you that says, I'm not really sure what I need, you just send them to the offer call and I'll take care of the rest. Now, if you want to actually take this serious, I'm not saying you're not going to take it serious, but if you want to make some more money off of this, if you have email lists, if you want to run it to paid traffic, if you want to do solo ad drops, whatever you want to do, I'm going to set this up. So I've got a VSL, it's a 5-minute VSL that sells this offer call, and they're going to have a choice to apply. So it'll take them to an application page. I will be filtering people because this is, an offer is applicable to anybody that sells anything online. That's how, offer is everything. It doesn't matter about your ads. What we've all been lied to and sold essentially is like, you need better Facebook retargeting and you need a better email list and you need all these things. Well, if you have a crappy offer, nothing is going to save it. The best copy in the world isn't going to save a bad offer. So, this has a really wide appeal. So I want to make sure that I still am filtering people at this level. So They'll watch the VSL. It'll sell them on coming to this call. They'll have to apply, filter them, and then if they qualify, then I will jump on the offer call with them. Now, the thing about this is, so we're tracking, and you essentially, I want to make sure you apply for this system. I'll once you're set up, I will give you the VSL that you can embed on your own page, and I'll also give you your own form so that they apply through your form. So you'll have a link. The link in this button will be your own form that takes them to your application form. So then it's really easy to see who came from where, right? So you're never missing or losing any leads. And so that's pretty much the entire system. Now, if you want to pump a ton of people through this thing, and we're doing a bunch of offer calls, and we're selling 5 or 10 of these, 10 of these is $15,000. Totally something that you can do. I'm going to have a team that can take care, that can fulfill, that I can copy, Chief. And yeah, so if you have any questions, reach out to me. If you're interested in doing this, apply below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can.